Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. I am your host, Justin Dixon, and today we've got Ron Ondechek on the podcast. He is the managing director of Highland Ventures. They are a fund that is acquiring companies who struggle with succession. So think of all of the businesses that were started by the baby boomers that maybe they can't sell to private equity and they want a different option. His firm provides that option. And we talk a lot about the structure that he's built with a company called Novastone, which is a large family office over in Europe, and how they generate all the deal flow and entrepreneur flow that actually they place into these businesses that they acquire. They've got this 10-step process that essentially goes and allows these entrepreneurs in residence, if you will, to kind of find the companies, build a thesis, and then Ron and his other LPs are the ones that are investing in these businesses so they can grow and scale. So it's a super fascinating model. I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. So let's get Ron on the pod. Interested in hearing conversations with private equity leaders, CEOs of private equity-backed companies, and startup entrepreneurs where they share their stories about their career journeys, starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, and the important role that having the right talent plays in building a successful business, then you are in the right place. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. Here's your host, Justin Dixon. All right, Ron, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. Good to see you.
No, thanks for having me. Fantastic to see you again.
Yeah, no, well, let's kind of jump right in, I guess. Give a little bit of an overview to everybody watching and listening, kind of who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now.
No, thanks, Justin. So the name of my firm is Highland Ventures, and what we do is we have a fund that is acquiring companies that are struggling with succession. So folks that have started businesses that are in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, and they don't have a son or daughter to take over the business. And so what we do is, what makes us unique is we provide the capital for the acquisition, but most importantly, we provide an entrepreneur. We provide the successor for the business at the same time. And we're targeting companies in the United States predominantly, but we're also acquiring companies in Canada and Europe in like the 2 to 10 million EBITDA range. And we're targeting 4 to 5 acquisitions a quarter. So it's a pretty big clip.
Interesting. So are there any kind of industry, do you have an industry focus, or like baby boomer business that are commercial services, or maybe give us a little bit of an overview of some of the, the flavor of businesses that you like to target?
Yeah, sure, Justin. So the idea that we have is we're focused really on the situation for the company, not so much the specific industry, because this is a global problem. It's predominantly in the United States. It's a $10 trillion problem in the US, but we are industry agnostic. So far in the program, we've acquired private medical practices. We've acquired the traditional specialty manufacturing or services companies, marketing and advertising firms, right? Because the idea is to give the investor a very well-diversified set of top-tier entrepreneurs and companies, diversified by industry, also diversified by geography. And I forgot to mention this, but we're based in San Antonio, Texas.
Got it. And so you're doing, you said about 4 to 5 deals a quarter, so 16 to 20 companies a year.
That's what we're targeting. Yep.
Yeah, and I guess, how are you coming across these businesses? Are you doing direct outreach, or are you working with investment bankers, brokers? Like, how do you kind of get introduced to enough deals to find 4 or 5 a quarter that actually makes sense?
Yeah, that's a lot of deals, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have a couple of key things that make us different is that we have a joint venture with a large family office in Europe called Novastone. And what they do is they run 95% of the recruiting process for the entrepreneurs. So they have created this deal flow machine where they find over 4,000 applicants a year, and they vet through them. And then once they get through to the final 10th step, that's when I get to interview them. And I have a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote on whether or not they get into the program with other investors. And that's predominantly where most of our deal flow is coming from. We get first dibs, first rights on every deal that comes through the program. So I kind of liken it to I get to play cards with a stacked deck, but I also get to pick some of the cards that are in the deck, right?
Yeah.
Now, we can also invest in companies and entrepreneurs that are coming from our own networks. So I didn't want to be closed off to the rest of the world. And so we're able to make deals outside of the network. But the idea here is to put in the time, develop the relationships with these entrepreneurs. They've launched nearly 100 entrepreneurs over the last 3.5 years. And to have that deal flow machine creating top quality entrepreneurs and deal flow, but we can look outside of the program within our own networks.
And so with Novastone, you said they're getting about 4,000 applicants. Are those essentially people that are operators that want to, maybe they're not a true entrepreneur, but they want to find a business to buy, almost like a searcher? And are they then bringing deals to the table for you guys to look at, or how does the kind of candidate applicant flow kind of coordinate with also finding deals to invest in and then matching those investors or actually entrepreneurs?
Justin, you nailed it. I mean, that's very, very close to what we're doing. We do brand them as more like operator-led searchers, like search processes, right? Using the entrepreneurship through acquisition, or more commonly referred to as the classic Harvard-Stanford search fund model.
Yeah.
The difference with our program is that we are focusing on operators or entrepreneurs that are very experienced. So they have 15 to 20 years of experience in the specific industry that they are searching for to find a company to acquire and then lead. Not all of them, but a vast majority of them have also grown and sold a company in that industry before. So it allows the investor to not have to waste time with training wheels for the first year to a year and a half. So our entrepreneurs, our operators hit the ground running, and they only need like a couple of months of getting their feet underneath them because they already know how to operate and they already understand the industry. And so that's what allows us to achieve the scale and get a lot more done in the same amount of time.
And when you go through, because I think this is a fascinating kind of model, so I hope me asking questions, it's helping to uncover it for me, but also I think, like I said, I think it's super fascinating. So when they have all this 10-step interview vetting process to kind of take those 4,000 people and make sure you're trying to get the cream of that crop, right? And so these people are kind of going through certain checks and balances, and then they get to you. Does that mean that once they get to you, you are essentially saying thumbs up or thumbs down on that person being the right fit for a company that you have already identified, or that they are the right fit for a company that you are yet to identify, but you just like, this is the person we want to find a business for them to run?
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And also too, I mean, I think that there are a lot, because they're not just operators, but they're different kinds of entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. So when people think of entrepreneur, they think of the classic startup, two people in a garage, and then they IPO on NASDAQ, right, with $1 billion valuation. But there are different kinds of entrepreneurs, and these are entrepreneurs that aren't going to be the person necessarily to go from 0 to 1 or 0 to 15, but they're the entrepreneur that's going to take it from 15 to 100. And so and with that, when they're going through the 10-step selection process, they are creating their own investment thesis.
Got it.
And so as they kind of like go through each gate, they're getting something out of it too, right? And that's the idea. So they're walking away with a lot of insight from investors and from Novastone to tailor an investment thesis that fits them. And so they are predominantly, they are paid to go find a company that matches that investment thesis, that graduates them from the selection process. And many of them already bring exclusive deal flow because they are from the industry. In many cases, companies will contact the searchers directly because they already know them. But what our job to do is to kind of take the blinders off and not have them focus on one or two deals, but to say, hey, look, like there are hundreds of other companies that fit your profile. So, let's kiss a couple of frogs here and see what else is out there. And if you end up going with that deal, fine, but they need to be challenged so that they can kind of look at the field a little bit, so they're making the best decisions on finding a company that it's something that they can create a vision and operate and improve, but also a company that they can get a good valuation and have a really good experience integrating with their culture, right? Those are super important things, and it's my job as a part of this program to help shepherd them, to advise them through the program. So that's where it mirrors like an angel investor or like an early stage VC investor, which I have a lot of experience doing historically. And that's what I really like. One of the things I really like about the program is because you get that one-on-one interaction with your entrepreneur, and you're helping them and guiding them, and you're diligencing each other, right? And so whatever they, we look at their deal flow, they have to log it in periodically. And if they see something that they like, and I can just say, hey, look, there's no way that's going to get funded, right? And here's why, right? But then they can find things that they can focus on that are going to be interesting to me, but also other investors, so that we all kind of coalesce around an opportunity. And whenever they put a letter of intent down, they already have indications of interest from investors, so they know that the money will be there. And that's a huge competitive advantage, because whenever we put that paper down, the seller knows that the money is there, and they don't have to lock them up forever and trying to go raise the money, right? And so we have this built process that gives the entrepreneur confidence, but also the seller confidence that that something is going to happen, unless it falls out through diligence or something like that.
Got it. Okay, so during this 10-step process, it's a lot. I'm guessing there's a lot of time. So if I'm an applicant, and if anybody listening to this and like, hey, this is kind of, they maybe wanted to be a searcher, but they can't go out and raise their own money because maybe they're, they don't have the backing or whatever. So theoretically, they could get into this Novastone program, and as they go through this process, they're creating their own thesis, and also they're looking for deals, and essentially they can feel confident going to these companies that they're trying to buy and saying, hey, I'm backed by Novastone. I've already got kind of deal or kind of a pipeline of investors behind me. And then where you come in is once a entrepreneur finds a deal that they want to buy and go run, then you're there to say, yep, I'm going to invest in that opportunity into your fund. Is that a very simplified version of how this kind of works?
We're helping them. We're not running the process in the program, because like Novastone, they give an analyst to the searcher, right? They give them, access to legal and accounting and a lot of specific resources, so they're not going crazy having to do everything by themselves. Right. But what we're doing at South Highland Ventures is we are advising. Right. So we're not working with them day to day, but we're there through, portals and things like that. And we can set up calls so that they can get my perspective. They can ask me questions. And so we're working through that from day one. So, and it could be a year before they find a deal, right? Or maybe even 2 years, but we have this relationship, and I already am familiar with the company. So it makes my diligence process much faster, because we've already been working with it. And that's compelling for an investor, because they're not having to pay for that time for prospecting deals. So we can deploy the capital in half the time that a traditional fund would. And an extra tidbit is I understand the process really well, because I actually went through it. I went through it myself as an executive, right? Because I've got an operation background, and I went through the process a couple of years ago, and Novastone said, "Hey, like you're a great entrepreneur candidate, Ron, but you're a hell of a fund manager. And
Mm,
so, what do you think about uh, having a fund and raising a fund to do this instead? Because they've been investing in the acquisitions through SPVs.
okay.
And when you're doing this, it was great to get started, but now we have this volume and we've got the flywheel going, and that's not a sustainable model because we're built about speed, efficiency, and working with exemplary people that are very experienced. And so, having a fund, you can fill half of the cap table within a couple of weeks, as opposed to having to boil the ocean to find individual investors for every deal several times a quarter.
Yeah.
And so that's how I really understand the selection process. And they only accept 1%, roughly, of the thousands of people that apply. So it's extremely selective, but it's selective for a purpose. But at least the people that as they're going through, you're getting something out of it, right? It's not
Yeah.
just it's not a one-way street. We want candidates to feel empowered, and to learn and engage all throughout the process. And really anybody that's a finalist through this program is going to do excellent. It's just a matter of we can't have the same entrepreneur with the same investment thesis coming out at the same time, right? We don't want them competing.
Yeah.
Or also like maybe it's like a personality fit or something. But they're all going to be very successful. It's just a matter of timing and finding the right fit, and having the right resources to support them so that they can be successful.
Yeah. Thank you for kind of going through that, because I find the whole succession kind of recruiting / succession investing thing, obviously it's not unique. A lot of people are talking about the silver tsunami, and baby boomers are going to be retiring, and they've built these businesses with the maybe hope that they would sell it one day, but then they didn't invest enough money in their retirement, and so they can't sell it because so there's a lot of challenges with these businesses. I guess what are some of the things that you're hearing maybe directly from these entrepreneurs that built these businesses 30, 40 years ago, and I guess why would they use or choose like a Novastone person to take over versus maybe just selling their business to a private equity group that's going to roll it up and do all that? Like what's maybe some of the differentiators that you talk to the or at least maybe through the applicants, how they talk to the entrepreneurs and the founders of these businesses?
The biggest thing is legacy. It's the sellers that we mesh the best with are founders that are concerned about their employees. They're concerned about their customers, and they're so grateful for those relationships and the families that they impact, and they want to preserve that. And that makes a lot of sense. And so they don't want to sell to traditional private equity, like sell 100% of it. They get 70% up front, and then maybe they get 30% later, but maybe not, right?
Yeah.
They don't have any influence afterwards. They have no control on who takes their company, who actually runs their company and what they do with it. And they don't want it to be ground into dust in a year and a half and just kind of absorbed into something else, and it kind of loses its culture, it loses its identity. And so that's the biggest thing that differentiates us is we go in and we say, hey, look, we're giving you the ability to choose who's going to run your company. You can you still have influence, you're still a minority shareholder, and you're going to have a clear idea of what's going to happen to your company once we close, because you're a part of the value creation process. And some founders are more involved than others, but we require at least a 1-year consulting agreement. Sometimes they'll stick on the board, sometimes they'll manage one specific relationship, but they're not running the company anymore. And it's very clear to the employees and all the other customers, but it's on a case-by-case basis, but it really comes down to preserving legacy. And our model is to organically grow these companies we're only using on average about 50% debt to buy these companies. So we come in with one transaction to organically grow the company. And because these are legacy companies, they are the more likely candidates to be the hub of a acquisition strategy, right?
Yeah.
But we don't come in with an acquisition strategy in order to make it work. We've got like maybe two or three, so maybe like five to 10% of the portfolio has that strategy, but it's not buying 20 companies. It's maybe buying one or two,
Yeah.
right? Because that kind of preserves the idea of legacy and not continuously having to keep funding the growth of the company, because we want them to be able to fund themselves and improve margins and become more attractive for exit. And most of our exits are coming from either management themselves, right? Like they'll just recap the company or buy us out, like a classic MBO,
Yeah.
or maybe there is a larger private equity group that comes in, but it's designed in a way where the entrepreneurs stay with the company, right? We've already got institutional grade management, and we bring in CFOs and other things and put back offices in place because we know what it needs to look like in order to scale and make it attractive. And they're willing to pay a premium for that because we do that heavy lifting to prepare the company for the scale and have a proper, best practices, back office, and real growth results for to be attractive for an acquirer.
Yeah. And how long have you been kind of doing this model with Novastone?
With Novastone, about 3 years.
Okay.
So like starting with them, like my grandfather, why I got in this a while ago was my grandfather had a company that he lost due to succession. He was a self-taught mechanic, and he was pretty well known. He worked for Richard Petty in the 60s and 70s. So my dad was on the pit crew, and my pap was behind the wall doing the body work and working on the engines for qualifying.
That's
And
awesome.
and he had about 20 to 24 people working for him, but my dad wasn't interested in the business. So I always wanted to be like my pap in that way, like, oh, I want to have my own business. I want to grow it and so on. But then when I went through the MBA, I had no idea. I was an engineer. I had no idea what venture capital was or private equity. But then I quickly realized that I could impact more lives by being on the other side of the table and servicing dozens of entrepreneurs at the same time and solving multiple problems instead of putting all my eggs in one basket for one company. And so that's my why, and been working with Novastone for a couple of years now.
And I guess over these, last few years, obviously, coming out of COVID, 2021, anybody that had a SaaS business could raise, tons of money and potentially be overvalued and all that stuff. And obviously the M&A market has been challenged over the last few years. I guess I'm curious kind of what you've seen. Has deal flow changed? Has the types of deals changed? In the last few years, at least that you've been with Novastone, like what have you seen in the deal flow kind of space?
Yeah, no, I mean, great question. I mean, we've been pretty agnostic to the ebbs and the flows, and that's traditional for this market. Stanford puts out a lot of amazing information with their Search Fund Institute. Like every 2 years, they put out a new report, and when you look at it from a big picture perspective, these investments are counter-cyclical to the overall market. So they have the betas of like 0.6 to 0.8, just because they've been around so long and they've been through so many business cycles that they know how to survive. Many of them don't even have any debt at all on their balance sheets, and so yes, they have to deal with the moving markets as everybody else does, but they don't have the same kind of volatility. And we focus on succession. And so, Father Time is undefeated, right? So,
Yeah.
so founders don't have the luxury of time per se, right? And I think COVID, was kind of like, it took 10 more years off of their perspective, right? And so they're realizing that they want to have a chance to get out. They're not getting any younger. And so we're not seeing the same kind of typical ebbs and flows that you see in M&A. It's been fairly consistent due to those reasons.
And I know that you obviously have probably significant deal flow coming from Novastone, but coming out, other deals that you're getting kind of, through your
Oh,
own
yeah.
means.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've been in this investing world for a while. Like
Yep.
now that we're in this world of AI, and I know that the baby boomer stuff obviously was before AI, or for the kind of AI that we know. Like, have you seen AI cause any I guess increase in value, decrease in value? I was listening. I was at a panel discussion about AI and private equity, and one of the things that one of the investment bankers talked about was having to really lean in from a tech due diligence to actually kind of verify if what the potential company is saying is AI is actually AI, or if it's just like them saying it's AI and it's like just software that does automation or something like that, right? So
It's like when Web 2.0 came out, and what kind
yeah,
of gimmick is this? It's just a spreadsheet. It's not AI. Yeah, I mean, and and something else on your previous question. I mean, we're buying companies at 4 to 6x EBITDA.
okay,
So we are not we're looking for the companies that are underserved. So we're
yeah,
paying a fair price for these companies, but we're going for companies where there isn't as much competition, but we're providing a fair price. And because of the uh, because of the skill set of our entrepreneurs and the sophistication that we have and the certainty of capital and the processes that we have, um, we're not always the highest bidder. We get a
okay,
lot of deals that we win just because they want to preserve that legacy. It's very important to them. So, and in many cases, they're contacting our entrepreneurs directly. It's like, hey, can you buy my company? Right. So
Mhm.
that's a real competitive advantage that we have. But as far as like the AI question, I mean, I love it. I mean, as a person who loves technology at heart and has been I've raised venture funds and have a good deal of experience there. Um, to be able to integrate, have the opportunity to integrate AI or light technologies into these companies is something that we're very familiar with, right? We're not taking crazy, stupid risks, right?
Yeah,
We're a PE fund. We're not a VC fund creating technologies and burning cash. No, that's not what we're doing.
yep,
But because of our venture capital background, we know how to evaluate technology. We know how to adopt and integrate technology and how to scale it. And we're not finding AI is impacting valuations very much at all. Like people are basically using ChatGPT or Grok answering basic questions. They're not. Many of these companies haven't even been digitized yet.
mm,
So and when we're buying a company, we're looking at companies that have been very consistent over the
yep,
years, and we want to be able to be an agent of change to modernize, keep the legacy, and grow the company um, with bringing best practices, with bringing AI to these companies to have them perform more effectively, be more efficient, and grow faster. But we're not finding the way that they are right now that uh, huge AI impacts are influencing valuations and things of that nature. I think that it's still very early on for these companies, and because they're so used to doing things a certain way and
yeah,
managing those things that they know that they know that they need a leadership change and they need to get out, right? But the vast majority of them are not doing anything more than just using basic publicly available AI to do their day-to-day work.
yeah. One thing that kind of came up in this panel that was interesting, and I didn't really think about, but they were talking about kind of these investment banks and private equity firms were very cautious and sometimes were just not using AI for any deal evaluation. So they're not uploading any company data, and some of them are actually putting in their kind of rules and regulations, and that's not the official title, but essentially saying you cannot upload any of this data into an AI for analysis. And if you do, it like breaches like your NDA or whatever. Do you use AI for like any kind of deal analysis and or kind of underwriting, or does Novastone, to your knowledge, use that? I hadn't heard that before, but I was kind of curious, kind of what other people are doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a very valid point. And, one of the, well, to answer your question directly, yes, I mean, South Highland Ventures, we do use AI. The way that we view AI is, I mean, it's pretty consistent with how other people are using AI. It's a tool,
Yeah.
right? It's not the end all be all, but it helps us get half of the way there,
Yeah.
right? And maybe in a year or two, maybe it can be more like 80-20, but you're always going to need somebody to take it that last mile, and make sure that you're filling in gaps, because at the end of the day, this is, highly relationship based transactions, right? I mean, you're dealing with, somebody that's put their entire life and their family and generations into this company, and their businesses are a reflection of that. And having like an AI system is in no way in the world going to be able to properly give the proper respect and diligence, and also looking at that legacy part, right? I don't think it's really going to be able to value that as another human being would, that has been through like over 100 transactions like we have at South Highland Ventures, and understanding the human element better, and understanding those relationships. But we use certain tools to be able to, we have like proprietary AI tools that we use to help process information, that, we haven't had any roadblocks on limiting us from using AI to evaluate, because we just make sure that we have we're treating the information confidentially and properly, and keeping all the controls as we would protect any other, private information. But find that it's helpful in, doing first passes at investment memos, trying to find more competitor information more quickly than we would otherwise, and asking questions that, we are humans and we make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But AI is built by humans, and so it can make mistakes too. So we find that it can help with answering some of the most basic questions more quickly for us. But we always have to be there to fill in the gaps, and in the next several years, maybe we'll need to step back and evaluate it. But because of the volume of the deal flow that we have, and the depth of experience in my team at South Highland Ventures, and also, I mean, the legacy of these companies. I mean, you've got 20 to 50 years of history that you're working within these companies, and they have tremendous legacy and information and data. Not all of it is written down, right? But just being able to, honor them and learn from them, and use that as a strong foundation in order to kick the company into another level, and let it continue.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about kind of evaluating the legacy is kind of interesting, because an AI is not necessarily going to take into account the fact that it's provided stability for maybe a generation or multi-generations or multiple families.
There might be a lot of recency bias, right?
Yeah.
With the data and information, but there might be a ton of information that hasn't even been digitized yet, that's out there, that you can quickly scan it and view it, as a human being, as an analyst. But it's going to take a lot more work to put it into the AI than it would for somebody to just look at it and analyze it and come to a conclusion. And so I think that there's still some gaps there. But as maybe if the company is more digitized, and we can use more of a history. But I think that's particularly with these lower mid-market companies, where they've never had an audit before, right?
Right.
So, I think that this is going to be something that's going to be around for, the next 3 to 5 years at least. But it's incumbent upon us to be able to use the best tools in the world to, to push for the best returns that we can generate for our LPs, and also the best outcomes for the companies and the entrepreneurs that we invest in.
Yeah. It's a great segue because I was curious because obviously you've probably vetted or interviewed, and as a recruiter, I'm always curious about how people vet talent and all of that. Have you seen, because you've got some track record with Novastone, and obviously you've invested in a bunch of other ventures in your career, but if somebody's listening to this and they've thought about maybe starting a business, but maybe they're more of an intrapreneur, meaning that they're not a good 0 to 1 person, but they're really good and at scaling companies once or businesses once they get to a certain level, maybe it's $1 million, 2 million or whatever, and they can take it to 10 and all that fun stuff, right? So when you're looking at talent and you're looking at these applicants that go through this Novastone program, what are like some traits that you've identified that maybe they make them potentially more successful, even if on paper they're not, like, they didn't go to the an MBA program, or they didn't do this, but they've got like certain attributes and things that would make them maybe a higher likelihood of success taking over one of these legacy businesses than somebody else?
Sure. Yeah. And there's a couple of key things. I mean, one is having people that are just well-grounded, they have some humility. And this is in general. I'll get more specific, but whenever I'm evaluating an entrepreneur, some of the most important things I look for is that humility and really being able to understand the investor's perspective is really important to me. You can have entrepreneurs that are very successful, but they view investors as just, okay, I just need the money and get out of my way. And I'm only going to call and talk to you when things go bad. Or if I need more money, right? If things are going bad and I need more money, I'm going to ask for forgiveness and not permission. Or if things are going really well, I'm going to ask for money then too. I find that I'm able to be more effective as an advisor and partner if you have more of that humility, because I try to be that as much as I can, right? And I don't want to be in a situations where it's not coming back, right? So understanding the investor's perspective is really important to me. And when it comes to the Novastone program, and also my style in general too, is having somebody that's comfortable working in a team. And it's really important because Novastone is providing that team, right? They need to be able to delegate. They need to be able to help guide, be able to talk to the junior analyst, but also manage up and talk to the executives at Novastone or the institutional investors that are helping them. That's really important. That's a really important decision that for those finalists, right? Are they a good personality fit for the program? But at the end of the day, it's finding people that, because I think there are more entrepreneurs like this that are out there, but they just haven't had a place to go, right? But having having clear leadership ability and being able to create a vision and to execute on that vision with a team. So maybe you're leading a division for a large company, and you've been able to get things done, right? More effectively growing revenue for this division or something like that, or becoming more efficient with your team, or maybe you worked on some projects and you've had direct authority and leadership over a group of people that way, or also if you've been able to go from point A to coming into a company in a situation, and then getting it to a point where you can sell it and then the exit happens. And in a lot of cases, we find entrepreneurs that have sold companies, but they did it for somebody else, right? Okay. And so now they make a fair amount of return on it, but they can look at us and say, well, wow, instead of me being an EIR, making like 3 to 5% in a company, and I might not be able to pick what company I jump into. I have full autonomy on what company I pick,
Yeah.
right? I can develop my own plans, right? And I can earn 20 to 30% of a company, and be in more control. And so that's where we're finding an angle for recruiting those exemplary, guys and girls that want to lead, and that have that passion to grow, and to kind of take on that legacy from the founder of the company, have that respect, but also that grit to get out there and get it done.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it takes a lot of perseverance and grit. If not, I mean, somebody would have bought it already, right?
Right.
And so those are the situations that are the characteristics of the entrepreneurs that tend to do best with Novastone, and also the key things that we look for at South Highland Ventures.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think the whole succession problem that's out there with all these businesses that maybe were built with the assumption that the children or child would take it over, and maybe that didn't happen for one reason or another. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, and I think having a solution that is not just selling to a private equity company that may have good intentions, but they're there to flip the thing in a couple of years, and maybe they'll do a roll up and do all that fun stuff.
And also, a lot of times, traditional private equity just isn't interested.
Yeah,
the companies aren't large enough. They don't have.
That's a good point.
They don't have enough. They don't have any redundancies in them at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, what am I actually buying? And so those are things that we need to assess, and see what we can do with our entrepreneurs, but also our process and skills to make it easier for them to take a look at these kinds of companies, to get them to continue to stay on that growth trajectory. Like the entrepreneurs that we bring in, they really come in with like a 10-year vision for the company, and because they are high institutional investor grade already, they just start executing, and it's like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Right. And so just to continue on, and execute, and that's what really kind of keeps everybody focused, and keeps the sellers aligned with us as we respect them and grow the company.
Love it. I love it. Well, I guess, we're recording this in kind of late October 2025. If we were to jump on a podcast in 12 months from now, like what's maybe one or two things that you're trying to or would like to achieve in the next 12 months, whether it's through South Highland or some other things? Like what would you love to come back on and say, hey, you achieved and we achieved in that 12 months?
No, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's just doing more of the same of what we're doing. I'd like to have, in the program started in Europe, and so we have a concentration of about a little less than half of our portfolio is in Europe right now. And so we're going to see more, because the U.S. is going to be the largest market, for sure. But to have more searchers in the United States, where we have, because this is the biggest market, so it's to support them and getting after it, and quite simply, doing what we told our LPs what we would do, is to continue to make solid investments, support Novastone in helping to pick the best of the best, and make good, smart, fundamental investment decisions, and just help the entrepreneurs get after it. And I'm sorry, it's not more sexy than that, but but we put a lot of thought into this plan, and it's just a matter of just executing it, right? I mean, you got to keep your eyes open, and sometimes you got to read the room and see what's going on in the markets, but we just want to be able to execute, stick to the plan and execute. We've already got realized returns with the group. And so we just want to continue on that path. And one thing that I'll mention too is like with venture, you're kind of defining your own path, right? You're in many ways you're creating your own market.
Yeah.
And you're in the jungle with a machete and you're kind of making your own path, and being a first mover gives you a tremendous advantage, but it's also a tremendous amount of risk. You're defining your own markets and your own products and so on and so forth. But with what we're doing, a path has already been made.
Yeah.
Right. There's a clear path, a clear formula for enterprise value growth for these kinds of companies. And it's my job to help the entrepreneurs, remind them what the path is and get them on that path, right?
Yeah.
And so they're not that far away from the path, but I still need to kind of steer them to that path and guide them along on the path that's already been, pretty evident,
Yeah.
right? And so as long as we're doing that and keeping them on that path and doing what we said we would do, that would be a positive for us.
Awesome. No, I think it's a tremendous program. I think you're solving a problem, and not in a way that is just reaping the rewards, right? You're helping these founders that maybe can't sell the business to not just shut it down, right?
Yep.
And
exactly.
And maybe
we're saving jobs. We're growing jobs.
Yeah. So
that's what I really enjoy. I enjoy the growth.
Yeah.
Right. I enjoy the growth in these companies and finding and enacting change and growing these companies. That's what I enjoy most of all. And to making positive impacts, creating positive outcomes, right? It's not always going to be positive, right? And you can't be, it's not all puppy dogs and unicorns, right? But to have a well thought out plan and be ready for all those things and give the attention that these companies deserve, and help them to reach their potential, and generate, compelling returns for our investors. And if you're doing that, then especially with the model as balanced as it is, right? If we're following the plan, if we're working together, the returns are going to be there, right? And it's not like we're trying to shave a quarter point off of our debt to get an extra exit multiple, right?
Right.
We're just all focused on growing and doing it the right way, and things fall into place naturally in those situations.
Ron, I appreciate you coming on and being willing to share kind of your story, because it's super fascinating about kind of, when we really didn't even talk about your previous life and all that stuff. Maybe that'll be for the second podcast. But I want to kind of wrap this one up here with a three pack of questions that I ask every guest. And the first question is,
all right, let me have it.
Yeah, what's an influential book or podcast that you would recommend to the audience?
Well, I got to go old school on this, and Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt.
Okay.
It's definitely an eye opener. I mean, I was a chemical engineer, right?
Okay.
A very focused discipline, and I never had an economics class in my life. And I read this book, and it just brought a lot of things to light, and understanding, it kind of blurs the line between micro and macroeconomics, right? It gives you a good understanding of how things work, and allows you to kind of recognize patterns quicker with a different fundamental basic knowledge. And I find that maybe economics, like core economics, isn't taught very much the way that it used to be or whatever. There's different focuses. And so I actually have a box of those books in my office that I hand out. So Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. It's a classic. Go check it out.
Awesome.
You can get it online for free.
Oh, brilliant. I will check that out. Very cool. All right. Question 2. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Oh boy. Well, spending time with my kids. That's the easiest thing. Ronnie and Jackson, they're and Michelle, they're my world, right?
Yeah.
But if I can play some baseball with them and take them to a Missions game here in San Antonio, or get over to a Rangers or an Astros game. I'll watch any baseball game anytime, anywhere. I don't care if it's Little League or World Series. I love the game, and that's a legacy that I want to pass on to my children.
Fair enough. Very cool. Last question here. Favorite vacation spot?
I got to go with Florence.
Okay.
It's my favorite world city. My wife teaches art.
Okay.
And so, like, I have no clue of the details, but I'm like, yeah, that looks cool. Check it out.
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, this came from this artist in this time period. Blah, 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 blah. And so I really love and appreciate the arts as much as I can, as much as my engineering mind can handle.
Yeah, right.
But it's just the beauty and being surrounded by that, and in that time frame. It's just a special time. And Vatican City, that's another. Italy is just a beautiful country.
Yeah.
But to see the history that's there, and the beauty is humbling, to say the least.
Yeah. No, my wife and I went to Italy a year and a half ago, and it was great. We did Rome for a couple of days, Florence, and then we spent a few days sipping some wine in Tuscany, which was lovely. So, definitely appreciate Italy.
Next time you go, I recommend Sorrento.
Okay.
Right across from Pompeii. I'll tell you more about it later, but yeah, those are all fantastic. And anytime we can sneak away. Now we've got the kids are getting a little bit older, so it's a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
That's mine and Michelle's one of our favorite places to be.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, Ron, man, appreciate the time. If people want to learn more about what you're doing with South Highland, or maybe they're listening to this and they're that entrepreneur that wants to maybe be a searcher and find a business, like, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find me. LinkedIn is probably the easiest thing.
Yep.
But my last name can be a little bit of a doozy. So remember, it's Ron and then Ondechek, Ondechek, not Check. Or find South Highland Ventures on LinkedIn. And I'm on there pretty much every day. And also my email, rondechek@shvllc.com. And, if anybody has questions, or I'm very passionate about this, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions, because most people don't even know that this exists, right? It's been around for 40 years, this beautiful model that Harvard and Stanford built. And so part of it is to educate people from all around, the entrepreneurs, the sellers, investors alike, and open their minds and their eyes to this beautiful model, and how we've modernized it and improved it to kind of bring it to the masses, bring it to the market, so that we can help more people with their companies, and also generate compelling returns for our investors along the way.
Awesome. Ron, man, really appreciate the time. It was great to have you on and get to share your story a little bit. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I hope you found at least one actionable insight from this episode of the Growth Capital Podcast, your one-stop shop for insights from private equity leaders, CEOs, and startup entrepreneurs on starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, as well as the role having the right talent plays in growing a successful business. It would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and drop us a comment so we can expand the audience of this podcast. Thank you for all your support, and don't forget about upcoming episodes dropping every Tuesday.